The team is back. We've got all three members of the Final Corner podcast back this week to discuss the US Grand Prix. Nick, welcome, and Tom, you're back from the dead. How are we doing?
Hello.
Hello, yeah, just about. Sorry for missing last week, was a bit under the weather. And now, apparently, somehow, via the internet, you're ill as well, Colin.
Yes. If my voice gets suddenly deeper during the podcast, it's because I've got your chest infection. And it would probably make a nicer experience for the listeners, rather than my usual squeak.
I'll also apologise in advance of any coughs that people hear. Sorry about that.
Circuit the Americas, US Grand Prix. Did we enjoy it? First question.
It wasn't the best.
That noise that Nick made perfectly encapsulated the race. I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It was okay, just.
If you were watching it live, there was a bit of tension at the end,
Mm.
but the rest of the weekend was a bit meh.
There was a sprint race, but it was another sprint weekend. But
Oh, what, sorry?
a sprint, shootout, sprint thing, sprint. A Saturday sprint.
That would be a better name.
Yeah.
Go with that.
Hey, I'm born for marketing. So yeah, there was a sprint weekend, and it wasn't a great sprint. So instantly, everyone online is saying how they need to ban the sprint. So,
It's the wrong track.
yes. Whereas last week the sprint was actually pretty entertaining. So we're not reactive on this podcast, so we'll be nice and balanced. But I thought it was fine overall. Fine.
Yeah. I think the main issue with this track is just all the overtakes are done in the same place.
Yeah, that straight is so long.
Mm.
And the corner at the end of it, on paper, is relatively simple. At least in some of the moves, especially that Verstappen did, he was sort of forceful, and that's quite interesting, running someone off. But the corner after that doesn't quite enable someone to fight back.
No,
Even though in theory it should.
Yeah. I know what you mean.
it's too narrow.
Yeah.
For two people to hang it and through there. So everyone that's on the inside for that part just ends up backing out.
Yeah, exactly. That's it. There was something, was it Norris at one point? I thought, oh, we might have a fight back. But
Yeah.
just doesn't have the angle it pinches.
But we've been coming this track now for 11 years.
And there's been zero track maintenance in that. I mean, look, they've repainted some of the sponsors.
Yeah,
I know they have resurfaced some of the corners. It was mentioned
okay.
in qualifying, I think it was, but just 2 corners, I think it was, and just a tiny bit of it.
Yeah, this was a whole debate last year, and was it MotoGP that really complained about the bumps last year or the year before? And now even with modern Formula 1 cars, it seems like it's... I don't know, actually. It seems a bit too bumpy, but I don't mind it because it's a challenge.
Yeah.
Crofty made an interesting point.
Excuse me?
Really?
What did you
Was
just
that sarcasm?
Exactly. he pointed out that a few weeks ago they had truck racing there. The ones where they have the jumps on the straights and everything.
say?
Oh,
yeah.
amazing.
And it was just pointing out the fact that might not be a great idea when you've got a track that has severe subsidence on it. I
That's
did
true.
think it's a decent enough point, but you know,
It's kind of worth it to see Stadium Super Trucks. But
Yeah.
he's got half a point there. But yeah, if you think about it, part of the reason I think the sale is so dull in terms of a track, even though it provided some spicy racing, but maybe that was because of the dust and the tyres, is that it's completely flat, isn't it?
Yeah. And smooth.
Yeah. So this has got a bit of character, one might say.
Yeah, I do really like this track. I just find it doesn't produce the best races.
Yeah. It's a couple of tweaks away from being a great track. And also, it doesn't make for good American racing. What I mean by that is NASCAR just smash into each other around here more than usual.
Yeah.
And obviously IndyCar, we've all seen the memes and the jokes about the track limits.
Yes.
They make it a farce.
I did see an IndyCar driver tweeting during the weekend when, spoiler, Max loses his lap in qualifying. And he posted a still picture with the caption, "How is this track limits? I can't see anything wrong here. This is ridiculous, F1. There's no way that's track limits." Someone had to point out that track limits in European motorsport is the white line. And they generally try to... But in IndyCar, I don't know what they define as a track limit, if they even bother. But
Yeah.
it's not,
It must
it's not
be-
whatever they think it is.
Yeah, it must be wall or gravel.
Yeah, pretty much.
If you're parked in the car park, then you've went too far.
Mm-hmm.
I think is their strategy. So track
And NASCAR doesn't even have even that. Like it literally is anything. They, for this particular track, they just said you can go wherever you want, apart from cutting across turn 5 to 6.
Oh yeah.
Which that's track limits. That's a shortcut. So they had to say, "Don't shortcut, please."
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
I do think that sometimes it is a lot better that way when we get 4,000
Well-
lap deletions a race. There's a balance.
Yeah.
There's a balance. Straight into qualifying then, since there wasn't really any news.
Well, there's a small thing afterwards, which could be nothing, but according to Jonathan Noble and Motorsport.com, reverse grids $1 million prize pool or a standalone title amongst the ideas for F1 sprint race revamp for next year. So, based on that X or Twitter Ferrari post race, there's some quote somewhere about open to some ideas, but let's see if that happens. Not convinced.
No, I don't think that will. At least not next year. It may be in the future.
Yeah.
Something might change.
Mm-hmm.
Reverse grid would be fun, but it can't really be championship there.
Yeah, the appeal would be ephemeral, I think, because it would just be a race of how long does it take for Max Verstappen to get the lead.
But if you were to do still the Friday qualifying, but then on Saturday you just flip the results and have a standalone, Logan Sargent's on pole every week and see what happens. But again,
Is that sport?
it's going a bit far with things like that.
Matt, at that point, put them all in Renault Clio's, please.
Yeah.
See, our suggestions catching on, Nick.
Yeah, exactly. That's the way to do it. Put them all in one thing and see who's best.
I think
Easily the best way.
I do think a team, you could probably change into a team thing where you take like average qualifying times between teams and set them up row by row. That could be quite interesting. But again,
Yeah.
I'm actually okay with the format just now because people complaining about trying to get rid of the sprints rather than finding a way to improve it, just bin it all together. Would you rather sit and watch an extra 2 practice sessions?
Yeah, no, I think the sprints have been relatively successful. It's just, like you say, some tweaking would be needed. And picking the right tracks as well. Because sometimes you think, I mean, to be honest, I thought Qatar was a terrible idea for a sprint race, but it turned out to be one of the best ones.
What we need to do...
I've just realised... Oh, God. I'm back and there we go. First
No, on you go.
of the podcast.
On you go.
But I've just recalled that I got that clear idea from you guys in last week's podcast that I listened to.
Yes, exactly.
I sucked it in there.
See?
The sprint weekend, you said there, Nick, has been relatively successful. I think it's been a great success for the TV rights holders and the companies that try and sell you extortionate packages to watch Formula 1 live, because they'll get far more viewers than, as Colin suggested, additional practice sessions. And I also like the nature of the team that sometimes there's too much practice, in my opinion. Just get there, have one practice session, bam, into something competitive. I do like that that side of it. I'm just not sure the format at the minute is the best.
What you should do is have a random secret ballot and swap out one of the drivers every week for Andy Neat, and then and not tell anyone who it is, and then just see what happens.
Just have him like a Stig.
Exactly. He has to wear whatever driver's overalls and everything, so you don't know. Everyone gets in the car in secret, and at one point in the race, Andy Neat will just smash into someone, and then you realise, that's the one that's been pulled out this week.
Or just give Dan Ticktum a drive. It's pretty similar.
Yes.
Good old Dick Tantrum.
Hey.
Aren't some of the reserve and test drivers getting some free practice sessions soon?
They should be, yeah, because was it 2 rookies have to take part, or there has to be 2 sessions given to a rookie?
I think it's £50 in Giovinazzi at least. Maybe Mexico, but I could be wrong there.
Yeah. Most of them
but
are
you're onto
filled
something
out.
there, Colin. There could be something for all the reserve drivers. I don't know. Not sure.
Yeah. I mean, ideally, I'd love to see it where you just, in a sprint race, they have to run one extra car for a reserve driver, but that's not going to happen for cost cap reasons, all sorts of things. But that would be great.
It would be amazing.
Because remember, they used to do that in Friday practice back in the day. That's how Anthony Davidson got his sort of breakthrough, wasn't it? He was in the third, was it BAR or the Honda at the time?
Rings to mind.
Yeah, so that's how he got sort of a bit of notoriety and then got his full-time drive.
Super Aguri.
Super Aguri.
Oh, yeah.
What a team. Let's reheat a several-year-old Amros. Brilliant.
Yeah. Right, will we talk about America then?
Yeah, let's do it.
So,
The
12
US
minutes
Grand Prix.
into this thing already. Main quali was Friday evening. We lost both Astons in Q1. They had a terrible practice session. Stroll had no running. Alonso had 5 or 6 laps. And they brought all the updates to the car, which they didn't have any information on at that point. Max Verstappen was going to take pole position before he ran wide at the penultimate corner, which then allowed Chuck Leclerc to take P1 for Sunday's race, with Norris, Hamilton, Sainz, Russell completing out the top 5. Both Alpines in the top 10 as well, which was sort of surprising since they've been
that's good.
off the pace for quite a wee while.
Yeah, it was. So I have to disagree with a lot of people who kept saying, but Max would have been on pole if he hadn't had his lap deleted. It's like, no, he wouldn't, because he was only 5,000ths quicker. And he could easily made up more than that by running wide. So,
yeah,
good point.
And then they changed the track limits, didn't they?
Yes, they painted the white lines to be double thick at a certain corner, which helped some drivers, didn't help others, and Sunday's race.
Yeah. I noticed also that Leclerc on the cooling down lap, he was told by his team on the radio, lap time deleted by Verstappen, and he had a right go say the driver name first.
Yeah, I know. Just heard lap time deleted, and he was just like, no.
But still an effort from Leclerc. That Ferrari is quick in qualifying.
Yeah.
Obviously in the race, it's very different. He smashed Sainz there. I think Sainz has probably had a better season on the whole than his teammate, perhaps.
Yeah. It is tight, though, between them. I mean, to be fair, it was only 0.2 difference in Q3. It's not like the sort of Perez-Verstappen difference that we've had lately.
Oh, yeah, of course. And then Norris in second. We're just used to it now, aren't we? That's no big news. But he's trounced his teammate this weekend.
Yeah, Piastri struggled.
Wonder why. But it doesn't matter because you forget it's his first season.
Oh, yeah, no. I mean, struggling and you're still in the top 10 is still good.
Yeah. Oh, and Ricciardo was back, wasn't he, for this one? Which I'm not
apparently
excited about in any way. Yeah. Boo. Well, not boo, but just like meh.
Yes, he was 15th in main qualifying, and then sprint qualifying was 11th. With pretty much identical times in both. So 1:35.974 in main qualifying and 1:35.978 in sprint qualifying. So if anything,
which of the qualifying
the man is
Sonoda
consistent.
caught out?
It was
true.
Sprint qualifying.
Yeah.
Okay, right, yeah.
So Saturday evening for us, there was sprint qualifying, which Sonoda went out in Q1. Aston Martin's managed to get up into Q2 for that one, and Albon made it into Q3. It was Verstappen, Leclerc, and Hamilton top 3 in that one.
Some might say the natural order, but as you pointed out, Nick, and it was very, very, very close, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It could have gone anywhere there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, was it 4 different teams in the top 4? All separated by just a tiny bit over a tenth?
That's what you want to see for Formula 1.
Yes.
It's a shame we don't really have it in the races.
Mm-hmm.
We're getting there. So
are we, though?
Mercedes brought a new 4, which has definitely helped them in pace anyway so far this weekend. But we'll come to what ended up happening to them later. Straight into the sprint race then. Carlos Sainz decided to start on soft. I think he's only won the top 10. Decent start for the first two. Verstappen cuts across to get a cover off Leclerc going into turn one. And Lewis then, I think this is the one Lewis then goes off the track at the outside of turn two to then get past Leclerc.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the stewards looked at that, but then decided that it was fine because it was turn one and lap one. And we're in America, so just crack on, boys.
Not sure about that.
The thing is, I think Hamilton did run wide, but it wasn't so much running wide to carry speed, if that makes sense. He was avoiding Leclerc. So I can, on a lap one, I actually agree with that one.
It's tricky though when you add in a grey area to track limits. Debate.
Yeah. I mean, as many people have said, put some grass on the outside, so there's no issue.
Yeah. Although it doesn't stop Jake Hill. We'll get to that another time. I thought Max's chop across at first was very naughty, but then when I watched the onboard of Leclerc, I think it's fine.
Yeah. It was aggressive and it possibly even slightly unnecessary because it just put himself at risk from Hamilton and other people on the outside, but it worked out okay for him.
Sainz and Piastri collide going up the hill to turn one, but I think must damage Piastri front wing because he's nowhere after that.
Yeah,
drops back.
I'm the same. There was no mention of it, and the team didn't mention it. They just said he overdone his tyres, but that front wing bent as it was hit. So
yeah, it must have been. I know, as you say, the team or even he didn't mention the wing afterwards, but to me, it must have been that. If that's all tyres, that's incredible.
Yeah,
because everyone goes past him. So, Perez gets past him quite easily. Sainz gets past Norris at the end of the straight, and he actually does he even finish in the points in the end? No, he drops down to 10th, so he's nowhere.
Yeah, it just fades throughout.
What else really happened?
Stuff.
Ricardo got a nice move. That was about it, I think. It was a nice move just because it wasn't at the end of the DRS straight.
Yes. Yeah, that was on Stroll.
Yeah,
I mean, Sainz got up to, I think, 4th and then dropped back to 6th because he was on the soft tyres and they faded anyway. But again, there wasn't too much else action-wise in this race.
No, it wasn't particularly interesting. There was just a couple of moments, but overall, it's quite easily forgettable.
It was on at like 11 o'clock at night here as well.
Yes.
Which was quite nice. My Saturday night was quite busy because the UFC ended up finishing early. So I went straight from the UFC to this. It was in Abu Dhabi, so it started at 7 p.m, not 3 a.m. in the morning like it normally does. So, and
nice.
all the fights went short. Main event only went one round, so I was able to just switch straight over and watch F1.
I think it speaks volumes about the sprint race that you were more energized talking about the UFC than it.
Oh yeah, I need a new podcast. I need podcast number 3 for the UFC.
The final round.
Hey,
there we go. It's got a name already.
Exactly. So yes, sprint. Max won from Lewis and Leclerc was 3rd. Fairly uneventful. Russell got a penalty. Was that for overtaking? I think it was it Gasly off track?
Yes, I believe so. At 1 again. I think.
Oh no, was that not? Was it the one on Piastri?
I thought it was a McLaren.
Yeah, it was the one on Piastri.
Towards the back of the track.
Yeah, it was at the exit, that little squiggly section. Which is
turn 15, 16.
Yeah, turn 15. It goes.
Oh, yes.
Well, it doesn't even go around outside the Piastri.
Yeah.
He just floors it and drives over the curb on the exit.
Yeah.
He's nowhere near him actually going through
I don't understand why they didn't redress that immediately. I was
Yeah.
quite frustrated by that. Like, why? Of course, obviously, it's going to be a penalty. And the team should have told him, get back.
Yeah, definitely.
And they nearly quoted Phoenix Knights then.
But it did bring up the suggestions that a 5-second penalty is not an adequate penalty for these sort of things because you can make up more than that by just going further down the road.
Mm.
Yeah, but it still would have been quicker for him potentially to. Well, we'll never know actually. In my mind, you drop back and get him at the next 2 corners if he's ailing.
Oh yeah,
But
I just mean in general in the races, there's people are now
Yeah.
saying that you overtake someone with track limits, you get a 5-second penalty, but by the end of the race, you're 20 seconds down the road. How does that
Yeah,
affect it?
I see that.
But I think if they deem it to be a improper overtake, he should have to give the position back regardless of how far down the road he's got. If he's got 2 more cars in between him before the stewards make a decision, it's tough. You have to slow down and let them all past.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. Okay, I
10
kind
seconds?
of agree with that. No, I kind of agree. What's the current penalties? 5, 10, drive through, stop and go.
Yeah.
It's hard to pick on those sweetie options that the stewards currently have.
Mm-hmm.
Which one's appropriate? Because
Yeah.
if say you have a Red Bull overtaking Alfa Romeo.
Yeah.
5 seconds going to do nothing because he'll get the move done anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And a drive through or stop and go seem incredibly hard. So
Yeah.
I think it is probably hard. But you're right, it needs to be quick decisions for the stewards within a lap, essentially.
Yeah.
Like you've clearly went off track, hand it back. Like none of this 5 laps later when we might take a look at it.
Yeah. The thing is,
after the race.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. But they do often say that now. They say give the position back or you'll get a 5-second penalty. And the team's just like, or the driver's often like, well, never mind, I'll take the penalty.
Yeah.
It should be out of their purview. If they don't give the place back, you could be black flagged.
No, that makes sense.
Yeah, that's my little rant over.
We're going to jump onto Sunday then.
Mm-hmm.
Sunday's race, which of course has Max Verstappen nowhere near the front, which is nice. He's starting in P6 for the Grand Prix. A few drivers or a few teams, I think, make changes to their suspension. I think it was Aston and Haas, I'm pretty sure both were suspension changes. So they start from the pit lane.
Aston actually changed the whole car for Alonso, didn't they? They went back to the Qatar spec.
Unprecedented.
It seemed to work for them.
Yeah.
So we're relatively quick. The Max got his brakes changed, and I'm trying to remember. I can't remember when he says they changed them, but basically throughout this entire race, his brakes were terrible.
Oof.
Yeah.
I've got a thing in my head that was after the sprint.
It was after the sprint. And Helmut Marko, that fount of information, stated that something was stuck inside the brakes. But he's the only person who said this. So,
Hey, he managed to give that answer without referencing someone's ethnicity. So he's improving.
well, he did do that at one point with the podium booing, didn't he? He blamed the Mexican fans instantly for that.
Oh, did he? Jesus.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I haven't seen that. I saw the headline, to be fair. I haven't seen the whole story.
Oh,
I
see.
looked at the headline and I was just like,
careful.
I don't care. It's just more of him.
Yeah. Time to go.
Do you think a Mexican has wronged him at some point in the past, and this is just he's got a vendetta against them all?
It could be. Or he's watched far too many Top Gears.
I was going to mention that.
Yes. Helmet.
Not their best piece.
Well, as Ted Kravitz said in one of his notebook shows this weekend, I've no idea what's going on with the Red Bull rumours, but Helmut Marko's got a contract till the end of next season, so if he doesn't turn up next season, you know it's true and he's been let go. And if he does turn up, you know it was all rubbish.
True.
So which is
same for Perez.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think Perez has just had his job saved on this one at the end, but we'll get there. Lando Norris takes the lead into turn 1 off the start. Crofty said that Oscar Piastri had a terrible first lap, but somehow managed to gain 4 places.
Yeah, he had a great first corner. Everyone was running wide on the first corner and sort of slowing each other up, and he just went tight and just went past everyone. It was really good.
There was contact though between him and Ocon, which eventually made Ocon retire.
Yeah.
Both of them had side pod damage.
And Piastri, right?
Yep. Just
Yep.
later on for him.
Yep. Sainz took Hamilton at the start as well, and Max Verstappen tried to go around the outside of them at turn 1, but Hamilton showed him the outside. He was pushed off the track, but Hamilton kept the position. There's a freeway battle. It's quite nice between Russell, Ocon, and Perez. The DRS comes into play, which gets Russell ahead fairly easily. And again, our DRS overtake Lewis on Sainz, then Max on Sainz. When into turn 12, Carlos isn't fighting any of these.
No.
So just driving for his tire life.
At this point, we should be jumping up and down in excitement of, Max and Hamilton are fighting through. Norris is leading, but it just had a sense of inevitability about it, didn't it?
Yeah. The first few laps, I had a feeling. I was thinking, Norris could do this because Verstappen hasn't really made much progress. And then, what was it, sort of lap 5 onwards, he just started going quicker and quicker. And it was like, it's inevitable now.
It's been a theme all through the year, though. Even when he's been down and behind a bit. Was it Monza as well? He settles in early on, is about the same sort of pace everyone around, and from 5, 6, 7, 8 laps in, it's either the car or him or the combination of the two seems to look after the tyres better than everyone else, or they're just saving it back and being intensive at the start and really switching it on later. And it's like with Norris, always seems to be really strong at the start of a stint with the tyres, and Ferrari, but they've both got a debt to pay later on by using that energy up, seemingly.
Yeah.
Not as big as Bernie Ecclestone's tax bill, but nearly.
No, I'm not going to go there. If I nick a bottle of vodka for the shop, right, I'll get the jail. He can somehow not pay 400 million quid of tax or whatever it was, and it's just like, you're fine, Bernie. Don't worry about it, pal.
Well, he has actually been sentenced, hasn't he? But it's suspended. So basically, if you're okay, you don't do anything else. If you pay your taxes henceforth, you'll be fine.
Yeah.
But that's... What was it? How much is he going to have to pay back? It's an extortionate amount. It's in the billions, isn't it?
Is it? The number I'd seen is 400 million, but I may be completely wrong.
Okay. Still, that's an extortion. That falls under that umbrella.
Yes. Leclerc gets overtaken by Hamilton. Then Max does the exact same move, but Leclerc tries to fight it. Max ends up running him off track at the exit of turn 12, but keeps the position. Verstappen is then the first of the front runners to pit. Norris and Sainz then come in as well, and Leclerc and the Mercedes both decide to extend.
Yeah. I'm still not sure what the right call there was, because at first I thought when Verstappen came in, when Norris came in straight after, I thought it's like they're letting Red Bull dictate the strategy and they're not playing their own race. But after then seeing what happened with Lewis and Leclerc, it's like, well, maybe that was the right thing. I'm not sure.
Tricky, isn't it? At that point, you're thinking, are they watching Verstappen too much or not enough? Basically, I couldn't really tell what was right.
No.
And I can rewind and have access to all this data and stuff. I'm not in the moment. So it must be tricky for McLaren as well.
Oh, yeah, totally.
But it's like Jaws coming, isn't it, Verstappen?
Mm.
Mercedes, I think Mercedes kind of caught between, they would try and keep going for a one-stop, which is ultimately what Leclerc tried to do.
Yeah.
Or they would just go for a couple of laps offset, as I kept speaking about. But I think they left Hamilton there too long, because Hamilton ended up going off track at one point.
Yeah.
He did. Well, that didn't help his cause, I don't think. I think that's been overlooked.
Yeah.
That he did have a lock-up, didn't he, and run wide, and then that really compromised his run onto the back straight. So at turn 11, he made a mistake, and I just thought, I can't drive a Formula 1 car. When you're on one tyres, it's easier to make that mistake, but just didn't have to push it that hard, because it probably 2, 3, 4 seconds that lap. I don't know. We don't know. I don't have the data in front of me to double check. It certainly didn't help, and that could have been, what was the gap at the end of the race?
Yeah, less than that.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
that was the decisive moment, I felt.
Yes, and So I think Lewis goes medium, hard, and then eventually medium again. But I think he had like 15 laps or something at the end on a newer set of medium, which kind of worked.
Yeah.
P2, but you just felt that if he had came in 2 laps earlier, he'd have been right with Mac. Hadn't made that mistake.
Maybe.
And another thing, Mercedes need to get better at pit stop.
Yes. Now you've said some stats with us. Hit us.
So both Russell's pit stops were in the 2 second mark, and Hamilton's was both of them were in the 3 second mark. So I think it's 3.4 and 3.6. Now when Red Bull and Ferrari and McLaren are knocking out 2 second pit stops or world record pit stops last week.
Yeah.
I was going to say 1.8 seconds last week.
Exactly. So you're just throwing away time. And Mercedes have always been slow at pit stops, which was fine when they were dominating. But I just can't understand if you're going for every marginal gain in your team and your pit stops are consistently a second or a second half slower than everyone else's that you're fighting, you're just handing time away. It's
Come on, Toto.
ridiculous. So there's unofficial stats for people who are tracking this on social media. So apparently 43% of Red Bull's pit stops are sub 2 seconds, 40% of Ferraris, 35% of McLaren's, and apparently Mercedes is only 1.69% of their pit stops are sub 2.5.
Too much focus on pumpernickel.
Yeah. So even if these stats are wrong, I think they clearly do actually tell the story.
Yeah.
Even if the numbers are wrong, the story is correct because you see it every single week. So it's those 2 seconds. If Hamilton had been 2 seconds closer to Norris, 2 seconds closer to Verstappen, who knows what could have happened by the end of this race?
Do we not think, though, that perhaps Verstappen was coaxing it home at the end?
I think so.
Oh, yeah.
And there's a talk about, Mercedes upgrades are they actually closer now? And we've also had it before where Ferrari at Monza, they might be on it now. And we've had it before with McLaren sometimes challenging for pole positions. I think it's just track dependent. I don't want to read too much into it. And I think this extremely bumpy track, maybe the Red Bull doesn't work quite as well as elsewhere as well.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Qatar was still a different league, wasn't it?
Yeah. Plus,
I know they've had some updates now, but we'll see. We'll see at the next few. Mexico's not particularly bumpy, is it?
No. And Max was nursing brake issues all race. So.
Oh, yes. Don't dare speak to him under braking.
Yeah. To be fair, I agree with Max on that one, though.
Yeah.
Yeah. If someone... It's not like he wasn't told several times, stop doing it.
Yeah. When we're racing Civics, the last thing we want to hear is someone shouting when they're trying to pull off a move on someone.
Yeah.
Or keeping the horn randomly.
Flashing the lights.
Yeah, so at the end, Lando is on hard tyres. He can't hold Hamilton off, who comes through for second. Catches right up to the back of Mac. Is at one point, I think, in a second and a half of Verstappen, but then it ends up just over 2 seconds the gap. Alonso thinks he has broken suspension. It turns out there was a problem with the floor, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
So he ended up retiring despite, I think he got himself up to the points from the pit lane, which was a shame. Albon picks up a 5-second penalty for track limit. There was a bunch of warnings, but I think he might have been the only one that had a penalty.
Yeah, I believe so.
For that. And Lance Stroll managed to recover for the point, which was fairly impressive for him.
But he wasn't impressed. He's in a tailspin at the minute. I don't know what's going on. Driver confidence. Is he actually reading the rumours online that say he's rubbish, do you think? And then that causes it more. Is he just too comfortable in the team? I suppose we don't know. It's maybe unfair to speculate.
No.
I'm really annoyed by how flippant he is about his F1 career at the minute.
Yeah, because he knows his position is safe, I suppose.
Yeah.
Well, to a degree, though, because the backlash is getting more and more. So it's getting harder and harder.
This is my theory. Are they entering WEC and Le Mans again in 2025? It's on now, isn't it, with the Valkyrie?
I think so.
Yeah. So that's his exit strategy. And hopefully that motivates him. Right, listen. If you're not going to be good next year, you're driving Le Mans, which, it's hardly a hardship, but
Yeah.
there's a route out now at top level sport for those who aren't good enough for Formula One. Oh, that's a bit harsh on WEC drivers. I didn't mean it like that, but you know what I mean. Like, that he can be masked when it's 3 drivers in a car.
Yeah, and to be fair, he's not a slow driver. He's just inconsistent and moody.
The inconsistency is probably not ideal for endurance racing, but anyway, mark my words, that's happening. I'll say it here now. 2023.
Yeah.
Predictions.
What's his name? Eddie Jordan done a podcast. It does one with David Coulthard.
David Coulthard.
Yes. And earlier in the year, they done an episode where they were speaking about Stroll. Coulthard asked him, when do you pull the trigger when your dad's the owner? And Eddie Jordan made a fair point, is that Stroll isn't the owner himself. He's got shareholders.
Yes.
He's got people who he has to answer questions to and whose money's invested. And made the valid point that at some point, where if there's one car struggling every week because the other one's on the podium or in the point, those shareholders are going to be asking the question, are you making decisions for the best interest of my money, essentially? Or are you just giving your son a drive?
Yeah, because it is some of his money, and he is the lead, isn't he?
Yes.
But he's also representing a conglomerate, let's say.
That is a good point.
And also, here's another thing, hypothetically speaking. McLaren, obviously, resurgent. Aston Martin, nowhere at the minute. But if there was 2 Aston Martins at the podium, or at least 3rd and 4th at the start of the season, would that have helped their case to fend off McLaren in the constructors' teams points? Maybe not, but they would certainly be in a better position to do so.
Oh, I think, 100% they would be. Because this was the weekend where McLaren finally overtook them.
Yeah.
And if you look at the point difference between Alonso, who's on 183, and Lance Stroll, who's on 53.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If Lance Stroll was on the same points as Oscar Piastri or George Russell, still behind, but a hell of a lot closer, I think they would have
it would be game on.
There would be a fighting chance of at least trying to hang on. Now it's gone. So
yeah, it's over now.
So after the race, as we'll probably know, I woke up to the news on Monday morning that Lewis Hamilton and Charles Leclerc were both qualified.
Do we have to say Chuck every time it's an American Grand Prix?
Oh, yes, definitely. Now, they were both disqualified because, is it the barge board on the bottom?
Yeah.
It was worn too much. I think you're allowed 9mm minimum, and they were both under it. Leclerc was apparently like percentage of millimeters under it, so it was like 0.3 of a millimeter that it was under. And so it's like British touring cars. I tweeted that it's the exact same problem as British touring cars. They only checked 4 cars and 2 of them failed. Right?
Yeah.
And it's the same thing with touring cars. The roller only goes under 3 cars. And if you've got a 50% fail rate in the 4 cars you've checked, how many of the other ones are failing?
Yeah, it's really just frustrating, isn't it? Because we just don't know. It could be they were the only 2 cars, or it could be that the only 2 cars that would have passed it were the 2 that did. We have no clue.
What's crazy about this is that you only checked one of the Ferraris and one of the Mercedes.
Yes.
And obviously only one of the Red Bull and one of the McLarens. So it was obviously Verstappen and Norris were also checked. Apparently this is standard procedure.
Yeah.
And they check random elements of random cars at each race. So they don't even check the plank every time, I believe.
No.
Although this article I'm reading here, which I will not name, adds an element of opinion, I think, laced, thinly veiled as fact. Because it says this is standard procedure as it would be impossible for the governing body to check compliance. Well, would it?
Yeah.
I think it's one of
those...
those...
think it would be possible. You just have to have resource available and change the rules a bit.
Yeah, it depends because there's so many different parts on the cars that could or could not get you disqualified. That it's impossible to check every single one on every single car. I think is the point.
Yeah, I suppose I'd be a bit of every single part is crazy. But
yeah,
every single plank at every single race,
that's
I think would be
very
possible.
achievable.
Yeah. There should be a list of mandatory checks on everyone,
and
then you have spot checks on the other stuff that's a bit harder. Because
It was clear that the Red Bull was running a bit higher off the ground,
Mm.
and it is a bumpy track. But
you could definitely see on the Ferrari. There was an onboard of Hamilton following Leclerc going on the back straight, and Leclerc underside was bouncing going on the straight, and there was chunks flying out of it. Like,
Yeah.
wow,
there was chunks and sparks and everything, and you're like, yeah, completely understand that they've run that too low. So, but it's just that seems like a fundamental check to me. Just like the British touring cars, like how long does it take them to put the roller under the front of each car? It takes them 30 seconds.
Yeah, exactly.
I feel like if you're going to do scrutineering like this, it's got to be fairly consistent. But
when it's race result affecting,
yes,
certainly.
Well, especially if you pick 4 cars and 2 of them fail, you might go, "Oh, hold on here, we might have a problem."
Yeah.
So it's it's impossible, as you say, to do full scrutiny on every car at every race, because it would delay teams from breaking down their cars and leaving the track as well.
Yeah.
But when you hear that only 4 cars have been tested, that does raise a few eyebrows. But that Andy second to Norris and third to Sainz. Leclerc's probably doubly upset because he had to let Sainz pass at one point during the race. Ferrari instructed them to swap the positions.
Plan A, B, C, D, F.
Yeah.
Good old Ferrari strategist.
Yeah, he wasn't happy about that, was he? But he was clearly slower, so.
Yeah. But they left him out in a one stop.
Yeah, which in itself was, well, to be fair, I thought at first that was the thing that Norris should have tried. But looking back, it clearly did not work.
No. The penalties or disqualifications did lead to Logan Sargent getting his first points in F1 though.
Well done.
He finished in 10th.
It's very good, but at the same time, it's just that, yes, Sargent managed to get his first point because 2 cars were disqualified. It's sort of taints it a little bit rather than him being...
Of course it does.
Yeah, but if you want to put a positive spin on it, he did finish 12th in front of Zhou, Magnussen, Ricciardo.
Yeah. Oh, no, he didn't have a bad race.
Hulkenberg as well. Bottas. So it ended up, he did benefit by beating a bunch of cars. And we actually saw him on TV making moves.
Yeah.
Yeah, true. Just really quick on Haas, they had a massive update, didn't they? Allegedly.
Yeah.
Yes.
And a new livery. And it went backwards.
Yeah. But as people have said, bringing an update to a sprint race weekend is always dodgy because you don't have time to bed it in practice sessions.
Yes.
Yeah.
So Daniel Ricciardo is the only current live driver without a point yet. Obviously only been in, 2 races?
Yeah.
So he finished last on the road. Any reason for that?
Yes, he had damage to his car. One of the brake ducts apparently failed. It wasn't damage, it failed and was causing aerodynamic issues because it was unbalanced on one side of the car. So he was apologised to by Franz Tost for saying that we didn't give him a car to do a job. So we'll have to wait and see in Mexico. Yeah.
I just want to clarify quickly the Bernie thing. He failed to declare 400 million.
Yes.
And the settlement is 653 million. Oh, God.
Oh, dear.
Still small change.
17 month sentenced to prison for 17 months, but suspended for 2 years.
Yeah.
To be rich and get away with crimes.
Mm-hmm.
I would also like to mention quickly that, on a lighter note, Marta Garcia won the first F1
Indeed.
Academy title for women drivers.
And
it was on a Formula 1 weekend.
It was. I only caught one of the races.
It was live on YouTube, wasn't it, for free?
On the TV?
Yeah, it was on telly as well.
Oh, right.
It wasn't on free to air, was it? Or was it?
No, it was on Sky.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think the F1 YouTube channel had some free action live.
But next year, apparently, they will all be available to watch, so that's a good step up.
Yeah. Okay, that does.
Mm-hmm.
Tsunoda pitted for softs, which gave him a fastest lap point, and then the upgrades gave him 5 points for the race, and which makes it 10 points for AlphaTauri for the season, which is good because they're only 2 behind Haas now.
Oh, that's the main battle for the rest of this year.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm so excited.
AlphaTauri have went so far backward, and
They have.
you think all the good qualifying results Haas have had. They've had a terrible race car.
Yeah.
Yeah, they have, yeah.
Yeah.
It chews up tyres, doesn't it, apparently?
Yeah. So, yeah, as we said, McLaren's overtaken Aston Martin, and Lewis Hamilton's disqualification, I think, has probably just saved Checo Perez's career, if the rumours were to be believed. Instead of, I think it was going to be something like 18-point gap between them, it's now 39-point. And the rumour that he was going to get sacked if he was second, only 4 races to go, that's a big gap to make up now.
Off to Sergio's home race next, are we?
Yeah. I mean, I don't put it past Perez to lose 39 points in the next 4 races, but it seems fairly unlikely at this point.
All it takes is a crash or something there, and a good result from Hamilton, and you can half that in one race.
Yeah, and to be fair to Perez, we all keep saying it's a terrible year, and it has been, but second would be best ever championship position.
Yeah. Doesn't feel like a success, does it?
No, it's not the points he scored. It's not the position in the championship. It's just the gap to Max. Not even in points, but in speed. That's been the big disappointment.
Yes. Next up then is Mexico.
Mexico?
For the Gran Premio de la Ciudad de Mexico.
Was that a Helmut Marko impression?
Yes. No, I'd question someone's worthy if that was a Helmut Marko quote.
Yeah.
So that is again another evening one for us in the UK, which is nice. It's not a sprint, but qualifying is at 10 o'clock at night, and the race on Sunday is at 8 o'clock in the evening. It's a nice little
I wonder who the
race.
podium DJ will be.
Yeah.
That's the main intrigue there, I think.
Yes. So after that, they're saying Brazil for the final of the triple headers before Vegas, and then Abu Dhabi.
Yes. So, Vegas should be fun. I'm not saying it would be a good race, but it should be a fun weekend.
It'll be just celeb spotting, won't it?
Yeah, it will be. The locals hate it.
Yes.
I bet they do.
They are.
All these charges on the restaurants and stuff.
Yes. Yeah. Plus, basically half of Vegas has been boarded up for 6 months, so they can build it back.
Oh.
So, yeah. They're
Seems
not
a bit like a folly to me, but we'll see if it works out.
Yeah. Biggest pit garages in the year, apparently, as well.
Ooh.
That
does not make a good race.
No.
Will the sphere be lit up? Is that what it's called?
I hope so.
If they've paid for it, have you seen how much it costs?
No.
To get an advert on it? My God. Whoever built that is going to make a fortune in the end.
Just buy sponsor slots.
Oh, yeah. They want to build one in London as well, but been objected to for obvious reasons.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not Vegas.
Exactly. So we'll be back next week with Mexico, and all going well, we'll be back with a British Touring Car season recap episode. Since we missed Brands Hatch, you all know who won by now. So we'll be back with all season recap. The end of it all.
Looking forward to it.
Yes. So thank you all for downloading, and we'll see you then. Any last messages for you guys?
Anyone know a good boiler repairer?
Sadly not.
If you give me $5,000, I'll write a report saying that you need to phone someone about your gas boiler.
Deal.
Thank you. Job done. Right, thank you all, and we'll see you next week.
Bye.
See you later.